So that one right here, you feel I'd say.
Oh, Miss Laura.
Hey. Gloria's here too.
Laura's there too, or are you?
Gloria's, I said she's connecting to audio.
Trying to figure out where the, oh, she's on video. All right. I think we did have this problem before. How do I get on? All right, Mr. Al. Are you working? There we go.
Really number, unemployment number, all this. Well, that's our. Say something, I mean, the savings still outweigh the cost, but it's just more than work.
I'm gonna play it for a minute because I just want to see where my sound comes out before we get in the middle of this class.
Some of these field, some of them, but I didn't get here as part of. I pushed it all, it's weird, sorry, right? That's why I read that. What else?
Very nice. I can see special like little.
Oh, okay. That's what I needed to test. Was the sound coming out of my computer or the TV? I am not the best with this technology. It's a little bit for me. All right.
Share what you about how it's soundbar, the theater room downstairs, man, that's 3 hours, not even. Okay. So let me get
You sound old there, Sam.
spend more than $1,000 on a soundbar. Should be good to go. You should actually get one clip. What's money there?
You're too funny.
Yeah, I'm getting old. That's a sign when you have increasingly less patience. Yeah, we're getting related stuff.
Yeah.
I hand things to my son now. Figure this out. But let me know when you're ready. And he's usually like, there you go. Big deal.
All right, so who do I have?
On snacks there. Yeah.
Gloria, I have Laura. Not joining. Waiting for Nicole to call in. Crystal's at the dock this morning with a broken wrist. You're silenced, Laura. Why'd you look at me?
I was just doing my Charlie Chaplin.
All right.
Say Crystal broke her wrist.
Yeah, Michelle and I this morning, taking it out for a walk. Yeah, her lender she walks with a couple days a week had to drop her, she carrying the ring again. She's ready for the dog. Cause her husband just started a new job this week, so it's not like he can just bail.
Yeah.
Crystal. Yeah.
I just texted Nicole to see if she needs the link. Oh.
And they tried too. I didn't. Yeah. We'll wait for a few more. Let's see. wherever.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get going. One thing I did want to share with you guys is if you go to our website and, under agents, if you go to agent resources, you will see our training and events calendar. And we have updated it with the series and the socials. And it takes us through about mid-February. The sessions will go longer than that. We usually will do the winter series until about mid-April-ish, sometimes the end of April. But the latter sections, latter sessions, we don't really want to schedule those yet until we have a better idea what to do. So the ones we know about front are the 3 classes that are part of Jason Pantana's series on basically social. So we've got the one we're starting with on Google Business, and it includes all the new algorithm stuff. And our marketing partner Tess is actually sitting in these classes. Today she has to do it by recording because it's her last college class. She's still finishing up her degree. From here on, she'll attend these classes, and that way, when you need help, okay, I want to do this, but I don't want to do it myself.
Yeah.
You've got a partner to go to who's local and affordable because she specializes in small business. And then the second one we'll do is social media. Of course, Google is in fact social media. We don't think of it that way, but it is the most important of the social medias. And then the third course is on mass email and how to really leverage that in our business. Then we'll move into prospecting, where we dive into some of these softwares how can you in the first circle prospecting for your farm? How can you do some do you want to do some specialty work? How can you narrow down agent property? And again, some of this we're actually going to offer as a like a brokerage product, right? So a lot of folks, like me, for instance, I would love to circle prospect a long time. So mine is going to be more geared in kind of a farm, a semi-farm approach, or maybe I'm looking at some niche markets or neighborhood markets, but it's not necessarily always going to be around a listing because that's so short-lived. My listings don't usually sell on market because they're staged. And so by the time I can get all my marketing out, you know, I'm under contract, which is great for the next listing. And I might get there when I'm trying to take bite sizes, like a lot of us, right? Because you can't do it all. But so when you're doing more of a farm, or even like in my case, I work through foreclosures. I don't need to look regularly. Once a month or every other month is plenty. And so I think a lot of folks are going to fall into that category. So no, we just started, so it's okay. You're not the only one.
At least I get that done, right?
That's fine. You know, I'm always late to everything. So we are going to create where you can, you know, like Sandy can say, hey, I'd really like to sit down with you and pull this list. Let's say that list cost me $23 or $45 or whatever, then you pay for that. At some point, we may set up more of a subscription, something Travis had mentioned we might want to do. We may go that route, depending on how often we need it. But right now, I don't want to have to make every agent go out and get their own bulk and sell on their own cost rate.
Yeah.
When maybe you don't need a list on that often, because especially if it's borrowed, right? It doesn't change that often.
Yeah.
So I figure we'll experiment with that and see how that goes. But those are the kinds of things we'll talk about when we get to the prospecting section. Which is primarily here in the February timeframe. And then we'll also talk about like marketing options. So there's a lot of stuff out there that you can tap into from Corfact, that's partnered with Realty One Group. Travis is giving me a company out of Washington called Bear Printing. There's a couple other services some of our other folks have. There's different types of postcard. But even more so than that, one of the things we want to do with these classes is there will always be a section of the class that is about learning material, but then a section of collaboration. And so that's why I scheduled them for an hour and a half, is I figured roughly we would spend about an hour with the material, and then we'd have an opportunity to talk about them. And then as we get into some of the later stuff, we may actually pull up some examples, and again, that's why I can test to Ted if she can, because this, especially with social media, that's her niche. So that's kind of gonna be the flow of the class. We are recording them, and we are creating learning management system on Google Classroom, so we gotta figure out how to do that. And then I think we'll be able to post it, the link, not only the band, but even to this calendar, which is a Google Sheet, so it changes every time we update it. It's not like it's stagnant. So that way, potential agents that are looking at us, like Gloria, if they haven't made the decision yet, they can actually tap into what we're doing, because that's a big incentive of why they might be moved eventually, right? So we're trying to not just keep it within our world, we're also trying to reach out to those that are like, I think I need to do something different, but I'm not sure what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because we know it's not one of those decisions, it's just, wham, bam, and I'm done. Until you hand them a shot of whiskey, Gloria. And fun to her a little bit. Anyway, so that's kind of the flow of things. When we're done with these initial courses, we know some things that we will be bringing in are, for those who, and why I like to publish what the subject is, you know, like open houses and some things like that. But more importantly, we plan on doing some work around investing. For instance, you know, those of us who are retired military, we've got retirement programs, but most of our agents who are traditional, or spouses who travel around, they don't necessarily have it. So how do we as agents, instead of just helping our clients build wealth, how do we learn to do it ourselves? And so there's a lot of options out there. And Brandon, being, you know, Navy retired, he's actually introduced me to some other military retirees lately who have created these private lending funds. And they basically can work like a 401k with a pretty decent return. I've asked him to approach a couple of them about creating a fund just for our agents. Most of those are 50 grand a pop. And I've asked if we could see if they would, again, since we have such a high percentage of military families, first responder families, see if they would be willing to drop that to 25 per admission, because I think a lot of agents go, well, that's a closing or two for me versus 50. It's like, oh my God, you know, that's a half a year's pay or more. So those are some things we're working on, but we want to present in our winter season, because for a lot of us, right, so we put it in the back of our brain, like, okay, I'm a year away from that, but that's what I'm bringing to. It's not only working for paying for my vacation or my family or whatever I need to be paying for, but I also want to start building my own wealth. And I you know, not everybody's going to want to buy real estate. Some will, some won't. Others may say, I'm an investor for 20 years, and then I'm going to actually start buying houses. But oh, wait, this is a real estate investment fund for that. So we're trying to like bring that kind of stuff in too, because I think that's, again, you know, one of the beauties of a brokerage like this, where we can leverage each other's background and interest and bring more than we would if we were just on our own as independence. So those are some of the things that we see kind of happening once we get through the core stuff that's really about how do we help increase production. So, all right. Any questions before we start into a couple of these videos?
So these are video, not live.
These are video. These are Jason Pantana. He was the guy in Denver. It is a series that is not free with Tom Ferry. It is, as an owner, I was able to buy a course set for $75. And I thought, well, my agents are going to pay for that. But what if I represent to the agents? As a team lead, I can do that and not get in trouble. And so what a great way to share some of this stuff, because when the little snippets we got in Denver, it was just jam-packed and it was right the whole time. So yeah, exactly.
This is all about marketing, right?
Today's is about so this what I was showing was on the website. Okay, guys. On the website, we have posted. So if you go to agents versus agents and you pull down agent resources, the first line is our training event schedule, and we have published are scheduled for the next couple of months and what the topics will be. Okay, so the next couple sessions are primarily on Google Business and why it's important, how you build it, and what I've asked Tess to do, because we've obviously used Google Business in our brokerage for about 2.5 years. I asked her to use ours as a guinea pig, go in, make her tweaks that she would make, now that she's managing our account. And then go through this course and let's see what tweaks need to be done after we go through this. Because ours is established and we actually get pretty good traction on ours. So if ours needs work after this, I'm sure all of yours do too.
Yeah.
Because again, we sometimes need to see what's the difference. Well, I've got a Google page. Yeah, but if you're like us and you did it 1.5 years, 2 years ago, is it got all those bells and whistles and management things you need for today's algorithm? Because it literally did just change in the last 3 days.
Yeah.
So, because at the very end of this course, he's actually got an update on the recent algorithm changes. So, so he does a pretty good job of keeping it current. All right, so we're gonna jump right in. I gotta restart in. Oops, let's see where am I going? Okay.
Basis of a Google Business Profile, because I've already told you that Google uses a Google Business Profile to display across Google Maps, across Google Search, on desktop, on mobile, but there are actually different ways it quote unquote exhibits itself. The first one, and the one that maybe you're most familiar with, is what's known as the branded knowledge graph. So let me show you what that looks like. If I do a Google search for instance, Fargroup NW, Northwest, they're a real estate team that we coach out in Spokane, Washington, amazing folks. If I actually Google the name of the business, it will likely trigger what's known as that branded knowledge or branded knowledge panel it may be referred to. And it looks like this. Over here in the sidebar, I see photos, a bit of a map, see the outside. I can look and see the name of the company. I can click to their website, get directions, save it, call it directly. I can click to read through their 174 5-star reviews. Wow, very nice. I can see special little notation about online appointments, on-site services, their address, hours of operation, phone number. I can scan through products. I can look at questions and answers. I can read reviews. I can post. I can see links that Google populates, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, as it searches the web and says, oh, that's the same team. That's their Instagram. That's their YouTube. That's their Facebook business page. And it pulls all that data in. This is known as the knowledge panel. And it really is only triggered if somebody looks for the exact name of the business or an expression that is kind of the name of the business. Now, aside, if you Google the name of your business and yours does not appear, it means that you have low location authority. And by the time this course is done, we're going to fix that. Because I will tell you, like, if I Google the name of your business, it better trigger that knowledge panel. Now, the next way that you'll be accustomed to see the Google Business Profile inside of Google is actually inside of Google Maps. Again, desktop, mobile, either way. So for example, if I do a Google search for the Fargroup NW, once again, I'm seeing the knowledge panel, but I'm inside of Google Maps. So it's the same kind of stuff, but it's just inside Google Maps. And in fact, whatever you do that triggers the Google Business Profile, Google Maps is pretty much going to follow suit with Google Search. Now, the way that we're going to talk about the most in terms of being discovered through Google with your Google Business Profile is in what's called the map pack, or it's also sometimes called the local pack. And it looks like this. If I do a search, for instance, like, I don't know, best realtor in Phoenix, AZ, Arizona, I'm going to see a screen that's got best realtor 1, 2, 3. This is the 3 top ranking organic results. You're watching a course that's going to teach you how to rank your profile like they are. And this gets me giddy, I can't wait. And then I'm going to see that half the screen is basically a map portion. Now, sometimes that map can be zoomed in or zoomed out. That's going to be done at Google's own discretion based upon how many competitors you have in your marketplace. So if you are in a very populated area with like 50,000 realtors, 10,000 realtors, and a lot of competitors, that map is going to be much more zoomed in on proximity. But if there's not as many people, it's going to zoom out and take a much wider view. Again, we're going to talk more about that too, but keep that in mind. The more competitive, the more competitive it is. But this map is going to rank the top 3 profiles, and this is where all the money gets is in the map. Because think about it, am I more likely as a user, as a consumer, as a buyer, as a seller, am I more likely to search for the name of your business directly? or to search for your product slash category, like best realtor in Phoenix, Arizona, best realtor in Milwaukee, best real estate agent near you. Which one's gonna get more search volume? And I think you know the answer is the latter. Of course, people are gonna search for your role way more than they search for you. It's the trick is how do we position you to rank above all your competitors so that you're the one generating those content calls off your Google Business Profile. Okay, now the last one is sort of an extension of the last. We have the map, but what happens if I actually click on the map? Or if I click right down here where it says more businesses? And it's going to actually launch what's called the local panel. Some people call it the local finder. And it's sort of this hybrid between Google Maps and Google Search. I just want you to have clarity on later on the cases that customers might see me on Google organically through my Google Business Profile, so that I know what game I'm playing. I want to see the feed, so to speak. And this here does allow some ads that I can place up top. They're called local search ads, but not the point of our videos. And then here is an extended view of more organic results across the left-hand sidebar, map, and I have the basic Google Maps functionality built into it. So there you have it, the different faces of your Google Business Profile. It's the branded knowledge panel, it's the map pack, it's by extension, the local panel, and it's also Google Maps, and it's desktop and it's mobile. We're going to dominate across all of those platforms together.
All right, we don't need to listen to you.
You sound like you're doing a lot of talking.
That way. Yeah, and when you're there in person, he is the same way.
Of course, we're going to kick things off by talking about the fundamentals of your Google Business Profile. And ultimately what it means for your business in terms of ranking on Google is becoming ever more a thing of importance. It's wonderful when the phone just rings because of GBP, your Google Business Profile. We're going to talk about how to get a lot more of that. And in this first module, we're going to explore what is local SEO because it's a big thing. How do you rank and optimize your presence for Google Search, for Google Maps? So we talked about local SEO. We're going to also talk about the different ways in which your Google Business Profile can actually show up across Google's platforms. Maps, search, mobile, desktop, all that fun stuff. We're also going to talk about the variables that actually make up the formula, the algorithm of how Google decides which profiles to rank, which ones not to rank in a given area, so you can dominate in your local marketplace. And then last, we'll talk about how to quote unquote get things going with Google so that you can be off to the races and building your SEO and winning and getting discovered by more customers.
That was short.
Oh, we needed that.
I was trying to watch these the other night so I get a feel for time flow, but obviously I didn't go through it all. And it's just like, okay, how do I lay out the schedule?
No doubt, local SEO is a code word. Just for understanding things for a second, local SEO just means people looking for things on Google that are of local nature. It's a local place, it's a local business. It's something happening in a defined geographic area, such as where you do business, right? So we're talking about local SEO, which is mission critical important to your business because here's reality. Google's got your back. I know that there are a lot of agents and business owners who are out there thinking like, man, there's so many competitors, so many disruptors, and there's all this difficulty in building my business, but I have to tell you, I have to assure you that Google has your back. It is for a fundamental reason, and I'll explain it by going through some basic stats in terms of Google and what they're dealing with every single day. Because guess what? Google gets about 8.5 billion searches every single day worldwide. Obviously, it's the most popular search engine in the world. It's definitely the most popular search engine in the US, Canada. It's the most popular search engine everywhere. And they're getting about 8.5 billion searches every single day. Now, what is the job of Google? Well, Google's job is people type in words and phrases into the search bar, and then Google has to kick up the most relevant results based on whatever the intent of their search is. So what if the search is looking for something local? That's what we're going to talk about today, because guess what? 46% of all Google searches, remember, there's 8.5 billion every single day. And 46% of all Google searches are looking for something local, like you, like a local realtor. And you're thinking like a local realtor, they're looking for local restaurants, local parks, local coffee shops, and things like that. And you're right, they are. No doubt consumers are using Google for that means of use, right? But get this, if you go look at Google Trends, which Google Trends is a free analysis tool that Google puts out for anybody to use to figure out what people are searching for Google and how long they're searching for, what are the rising trends. And so if you go look at Google Trends, you'll realize that roughly for every 85 times somebody looks for coffee near me, roughly 5 people search for a realtor near me. And I'm like, wow, that's a big deal because I drink coffee every day, and I'm sure you drink coffee every day. Many people drink coffee multiple times a day, but I really bet nobody watches buys or sells a house every day. And yet, 5 for every 85 times. That's a lot of search to make. It's a day about positioning you to win on Google, to crack that code of local SEO. Now, I'm using a broader term here, local SEO, but really what we're going to talk about is your Google business profile. Because you have to think again, like what is the job of Google? Well, people type in words and phrases into the search bar, and then Google magically, voila, here's all the relevant links and stuff you need. But how do they deal with the fact that people are often looking for local businesses? And the answer is your Google business profile, which is a combination of Google Maps and Google Search and everything integrated together to make it a seamless user experience. So when somebody goes to Google to look for something local, which again, it's almost half the time, they're going to find exactly what they want. And we're going to position you to be found exactly where you want, so that buyers and sellers find you, call you, and work with you. This is a course all about more come listen me call, more come work with me calls from buyers as well. Now, I'm going to get a little bit of a spoiler. We're really talking about how to do listings. And I'll explain why that is as we get into the material. But it's really about generating come listen me calls, positioning you as the best real estate agent near me. That's the goal today. Now, we're talking about your Google business profile, and let me give you a long history of your Google business profile, because many of you are thinking like, oh, it used to be called Google My Business, and now it's called Google Business Profile. Everything's going away, and I'm like, it's not. In fact, there's been a pattern of name changes since the beginning of your Google Business Profile, whatever it's called. In fact, if you go all the way to 2005, they launched the product and called it Google Local. And then literally a year later, they merged it with Google Maps and Google Search. That's where they started putting it together. And it was still called Google Local. And then for no apparent reason, I'm sure it wasn't somebody's ego, a new director, or something like that. They're like, you should change the name so I can take credit. In 2009, they renamed it Google Places. And then you might remember like 2010, 2011, they're trying to popularize Google Plus, their social network that went over like a lot. And so in 2011, they started calling it Google Plus Places. And then later, finally, in 2014, after Google Plus was behind them, they called it Google My Business. And it stayed Google My Business for a lot of years until 2021, where they renamed it whatever's going to be next, who knows? But now it's being called a Google Business Profile. So that's your history of a Google Business Profile. Google My Business, Google Places, Google Local, Google Maps. It is literally all the same thing, and it is currently called your Google Business Profile. All right, let's talk about what a GBP is, Google Business Profile. So you're going to hear me call this a lot of things. I'm going to call it a Google Business Page, a Google Business Profile. I might even revert and call it Google My Business from time to time. I'm going to call it GDP. It all means the same thing. So let's talk about what it is and also who's the profile, what type of business. In terms of what it is, it's basically how Google displays information about your business across the board. Now, as we get into the content, you're going to start realizing that you can't completely control what Google displays about your business through your profile because it's Google. Just like you can't control like what happens if somebody Googles my name. I can't control what links pop up. I have some influence, but only through SEO, search engine optimization. I don't have total control. And in the same way, you don't have total control of everything that is displayed in your Google business profile because we're talking about Google. They are aggregating information about your business from multiple different sources around the web, profiles, your website, all social media even. They're pulling it in. And they're somewhat populating your profile for you. However, we're going to talk about all that stuff as we get going. But in terms of what it is, it just displays information about your business across all of Google's platforms, which remember includes Google Search and Google Maps. What's the job of a search engine, especially a kingpin search engine like Google? Their job is to make it easy, no matter what platform I'm on. Maps, search, desktop, mobile. If I search for something, Google's job is to analyze and understand what I'm looking for, what's the intent of it, and show it to you. And for local businesses, it's your Google Business Profile. Search, maps, no matter what it is, it's what displays the information customers are looking for about your business. Hours of operation, where you're located, reviews and what customers say, photos and all that kind of stuff, which again, we're gonna get into. Now, who is a Google Business Profile for? And I'm gonna go out and tell you, if you really wanna get the most extra oomph out of a Google Business Profile, it's for businesses that have a specific physical address storefront. And it's designed for businesses that actually interface with customers in person. Now, I know as real estate agents, you're like, well, what about, okay, I go in the field and I show houses, it's okay, but you conduct your business most likely out of an address, a brokerage, your phone, or whatever, and they're aware of it. But again, it's designed for businesses that do business with local customers. Now, there are what are called service area-based businesses only, but they don't have a physical address. Just in terms of those businesses' ability to be discovered by customers, it's way more limited. I'm going to talk about that very technically later on in a future video. Just keep in mind, a Google Business Profile is designed for businesses just like yours that work with local customers. Many different phases of a Google Business Profile, because I've already told you that Google uses the Google Business Profile to display across Google Maps, across Google Search, on desktop, on mobile, but there are actually different ways it quote unquote exhibits itself. The first one, and the one that maybe you're most familiar with, is what's known as the branded knowledge. So let me show you what that looks like. If I do a Google search for instance, Fargroup NW, Northwest, they're a real estate team that we coach out in Spokane, Washington, amazing folks. If I actually Google the name of the business, it will likely trigger what's known as that branded knowledge or branded knowledge panel it may be referred to. And it looks like this. Over here at the sidebar, I see photos, there's maps, see the outside. I can look and see the name of the company. I can click to their website, get directions, save it, call it directly. I can click to read through their 174 5-star reviews. Bravo, it's very nice. I can see special like little notation on online appointments, on-site services, their address, hours of operation, phone number. I can scan through products. I can look at questions and answers. I can read reviews. I can post. I can see links that Google populates. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, as it searches the web and says, oh, it's the same team. That's their Instagram. That's their YouTube. That's their Facebook business page. And it pulls all that data in. This is known as the knowledge panel. And it really is only triggered if somebody looks for the exact name of the business or an expression that is kind of the name of the business. Now, aside, if you Google the name of your business and yours does not appear, it means that you have low location authority. And by the time this course is done, we're going to fix that. Because I can tell you, like, if I Google the name of your business, it better trigger that knowledge panel. Now, the next way that you'll be accustomed to seeing a Google Business Profile inside of Google is actually inside of Google Maps. Again, desktop, mobile, either way. So for example, if I do a Google search for the Fargroup NW, once again, I'm seeing the knowledge panel, but I'm inside of Google Maps. So it's the same kind of stuff, but it's just inside Google Maps. And in fact, whatever you do that triggers a Google Business Profile, Google Maps is pretty much going to follow suit with Google Search. Now, the way that we're going to talk about the most in terms of being discovered through Google with your Google Business Profile is in what's called the map, or it's also sometimes called the local tab. And it looks like this. If I do a search, for instance, like, I don't know, best realtor in Phoenix, AZ, Arizona, I'm going to see a screen that's got best realtor 1, 2, 3. This is the 3 top ranking organic results. You're watching a course that's going to teach you how to rank in profile. This gets me giggling, I can't wait. And then I'm going to see that half the screen is basically a map portion. Now, sometimes that map can be zoomed in or zoomed out. That's going to be done at Google's own discretion based upon how many competitors you have in your marketplace. So if you are in a very populated area with like 50,000 realtors, 10,000 realtors, and a lot of competitors, that map is gonna be much more zoomed in on proximity, but if there's not as many people, it's gonna zoom out and take a much wider view. Again, we're gonna talk more about that too, but keep that in mind, the more competitive, the more competitive it is. But this map is gonna rank the top 3 profiles, and this is where all the money gets, is in the map. Because think about it, am I more likely as a user, as a consumer, as a buyer, as a seller, am I more likely to search for the name of your business directly? Or to search for your product / category, like best realtor in Phoenix, Arizona, best realtor in Milwaukee, best real estate agent near you? Which one's gonna get more search volume? And I think you know the answer is the latter. Of course, people are gonna search for your role way more than they search for you. It's the trick is, how do we position you to rank above all your competitors so that you're the one generating those listing calls off your Google Business Profile? Okay, now the last one is sort of an extension of the last. We have the map, but what happens if I actually click on the map? Or if I click right down here where it says more businesses? And it's gonna actually launch what's called the local panel. Some people call it the local finder. And it's sort of this hybrid between Google Maps and Google Search. I just want you to have clarity on where all the places that customers might see me on Google organically through my Google Business Profile, so that I know what game I'm playing. I want to see the field, so to speak. And this here does allow some ads that I can place up top. They're called local search ads, but not the point of our videos. And then here is an extended view of more organic results across the right-hand sidebar, map, and I have the basic Google Maps functionality built into it right there. So there you have it, the different faces of your Google Business Profile. It's the branded knowledge panel, it's the map pack, it's by extension, the local panel, and it's also Google Maps, and it's desktop and it's mobile. We're going to dominate across all of Google's platforms together. All right, let's take under the hood of the Google car, so to speak, and talk about what is the profile ranking formula. In other words, what variables is Google looking at to say, like, hey, if there's 5,000 business profiles that could rank in a given search query on Google, how does Google decide which ones to rank and which ones not to rank? And in fact, they give us insight into this. Well, it turns out they tell us exactly the formula that they're using, what they're looking for at a high level. Because here's the reality, we can understand what Google wants, then we can give them what they want in a way that benefits them, benefits us, and benefits the customer who's the one searching for you. So it boils down from Google's standpoint to 3 major high-level variables. The first one is relevance. If you look at relevance here, Google says, how does Google determine what ranking? If I expand relevance, it literally says relevance. I'm going to read to you for a second. Relevance refers to how well the local business profile matches with what somebody is searching for. How does it determine relevance? Well, remember, it's Google. So it's actually Googling you. It's looking at your website, and it's looking at the information you supply to Google in your business profile. Photos, Google posts, reviews, all the information in your actual profile. It looks at what you give it in the profile, plus everything it finds about you across the entirety of the web to determine, are you relevant for the search query? So if somebody does a Google search for best listing agent, I don't know, Milwaukee, or something to that effect, does your website, does your business profile, do your reviews, do your posts support that idea? And if they do, it's going to boost your ranking in that map, in the local panel, in Google, on Maps, and search, in everything. Now, that's the first variable. Our second variable is distance, and this one we have less control. If you think what Google says about distance, let's expand it, and again, we'll talk about how it considers. So distance considers how far each potential search result is from the location term used in a search. Here's the reality, friends. Google, as long as your location settings are set to private or incognito, Google knows where the person who's running the search is. It knows their IP address. It knows their geolocation. And that's a factor as long as it can see that past privacy settings. It also knows where your business is located. So it knows your address is 123 Banana Street or something like that. And it can keep that in mind with where the search is. But then if you actually look at the documentation here, it says location term. And so that means if I do a Google search for best realtor in Nashville, I literally put the location term in the search query. Google analyzes that. And so where's my address in proximity to the point of search? Now, with distance, we have limited control, right? Your address is your address. And you don't know who the person who's running the search is, what you're looking for. You can't always control it. Which means if you don't like where your address is and it's not helping you in terms of ranking better, Okay, let's make up for it, but don't last year, which is prominence. If you look at the screen, prominence is a very long, verbose, like several paragraphs about what is prominence. It basically means that Google is Google. And so Google's gonna Google search you. And what it can find about you in terms of how well known are you? Are you the authority of your subject? It's gonna look at your website, it's gonna look across other platforms like Yelp or other websites with a lot of SEO. It's gonna look at your social media profiles, and it's gonna start gleaning all this information about your business and how prominent you are. Articles, links, all that stuff matters. So here's the deal. Even if the address of your business isn't quite where you want it, you still have two variables over which you can exercise control: the relevance and the prominence. And they go kind of hand in glove together. So this is a super big picture of how does Google make this problem? How does Google solve for it? What is a customer looking for? So I can supply them with the most relevant links and profiles, because isn't that Google's job? Which is why Google's not doing that. Because their job is to help you get discovered by the right customers. And so I think, let's be the machine. It takes going to Google, and that may be, you gotta make a page, right? And you have a starting point, so maybe you need to create your business page, your business profile. To do so, you simply go to business.google.com/create. And you're,
Okay, who has Google Business page? Who does not?
Ed's been trying to get his verified to see if I can.
I will say I have one, but since I'm here, we need to change locations. Even though anybody in this room who came from Cal right here, 8 o'clock.
And I was super wrong. Which is weird, because I met with Katie one day and we did land on the spot and I got a problem. Really? Yeah. They won't verify, I think they're identifying it as you.
Yeah, you can't just go in like and say to your Facebook page and you say I changed my employers and that, you can't do that.
Yeah.
They have to verify, it's told me you have to take a picture in front of the building, you can't do that. Yeah, and you gotta jump all these hoops, you just have to do a postcard, make the postcard come back.
Yeah, it used to be that, what we've been told is because we've got so many agents, they wanna make sure it's not a weak workspace. And that's why they've gone to video verification, things like that.
They didn't have to do anything.
I know, which it's crazy, because you would think, oh, that approach, you know, there's gonna be a lot of, yeah.
So, yeah, because he didn't have it previously, so he's not paying business.
Yeah.
If it's short.
But that was like 5.
I mean, it's pretty.
Okay, so, everyone's trying to get a page, right? Okay, we can't, we're gonna try to help you. Did we get mail? It's over here. I think I can have a big So we know the dollar government market. Magic, you got it, okay, Brandon, okay, Jessica,
I will, I just need it.
okay, so, what I would recommend you do is get through another, wait till you're official. Then you don't get that, that'll be the time though, because you'll have to be almost in the course.
Okay.
And then if you need help, don't hesitate to reach out to Caitlin. If we run into something that's beyond us, we have tasks and little graphics we can go to. And she is actually attending this class with us, but she's also managing our brokerage meeting.
Okay.
Along with Caitlin Post, but task managers like. And so, again, that's, we're trying to build this kind of support network. Laura and Gloria, do you guys have a Google page?
Yeah.
Sure, that's one.
I have one.
Somebody's talking, I can't hear you. There you are.
So I have one, but Crystal helped me set it up way back when, and I don't know if it's probably wrong. Something, I probably did something wrong.
All right, Gloria, do you have a Google business page?
I do not believe so, but I'll get one set up today then.
Well, we'll get you fixed. Yes, same as I shared with Jessica, you may not have heard me as, give it a session or two, and that way we set up according to all the new stuff he tells us. If you
Yes.
have, and Caitlin can help you, if you run into problems, then we can always also reach out to Tess.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll wait until I transfer over.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love that. Until- Stand in the background. All right, guys, okay, if I start again? Yeah. Cool. Whoopsie daisy. Okay, here we go.
You're gonna end up on a landing page like this. Now, most people are gonna be drawn to the blue light of add your business to Google, right? Don't start, right? Because what happens is a lot of people go to set up a new page thinking they don't already have one. And then they end up making a duplicate page. So what you should do first is make sure it doesn't exist, because it could have been that you hired some third party years ago. And they made a business page for you, and we simply need to request access to that page to take it over and control. So first, we're gonna type in, like, let's pretend my business is called, I don't know, Sandra Pike, Halifax Real Estate. Here we go. I'm gonna click that one, and it's gonna actually look and see, oh, that page already exists. Now, let's pretend that it's not supposed to, or to take ownership of it. I would simply tap that big blue button that says request access. What happens after you do that? Well, Google's gonna send an email to whoever is the administrator of that page currently. And they need 72 hours to either confirm or deny ownership. And here's the kicker. If they don't respond and say,
Yeah, sorry, I need to get into it, but this is where, because I have an old email, it's like I can't go in and do that, I said, I don't have email.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you have it.
It was signed with Bernie. So, my lines, keep everything Google, like personal email, because when you make changes, when you change firms.
Yeah.
And you go with your, I thought about real estate, you're no longer, it's a firm by any
Yeah.
my last.
Yeah.
Here's.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
Maybe he's gonna answer it again, give him a head, but.
no, it's okay, but actually, I mean, I am shocked.
I'm just bringing this up for those of you who don't have a page. Don't tie it to, no offense, don't tie it to a Realty One Apex or anything,
No,
because
we don't.
you don't know what you're gonna get by.
I mean, what most folks do, we're gonna do this after when we kind of go into more of the collaboration and, kind of working section is, I'm gonna Google several of us and see how we pop up. A lot of our agents, like, Kate Hogan Homes at Realty with the Apex.
I actually changed that, Google told me so,
What do you change it to?
just Caitlin Hogan Home,
Caitlin.
because if it's tied to Realty with your Apex and somebody goes your name, your business is populated. But once I took that off, you just get on.
It's really easy to change your name, and you want to do it as infrequent as possible.
Yeah.
And because it does affect your search, so I just changed our name. Because I shared this with many of you, we've been pouring everything into this brokerage, including all of our Google, all of our reviews fuel the company, even though they really aren't production reviews, because you're gonna put your stuff on your page. Well, how do we get the brokerage to rank? Because clients find us both ways, right? And so, Owen and I have promoted our own team in 2.5 years. Yeah, that's what keeps the lights on. So I went in and changed the name to Realty One Group Apex and the Colorado Property Pros and the Military Home Pros, because a lot of you actually take the benefit of the Military Home Pros too, so we don't want that to show up.
So the suggestion here is to take Realty One out of our naming convention.
Apparently, but a lot of these changes, I'm gonna recommend you guys hold off for a session or two till we kind of have a broader understanding, so we don't get in there and tweak too much and screw up the ranking, when we could maybe be patient, which is not most of ours will take. And then kind of like do it all at once, and that way you're just going for painless, because there's probably gonna be multiple changes.
I think there'd be a rescue email or whatever they call that these days, where you have a secondary email in there, for when your firm changes
Yeah.
or whatever, use your civilian email
Yeah.
or whatever, but.
Maybe,
It's called request access to owner managed.
Yeah, what he was just talking about, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
no, it's mine. They can't have it. Google's policy is set to automatically transfer ownership to you, the person who tapped the big blue button, request access. So be advised, friends, that somebody could very easily, in fact, steal your page if you're not paying attention to Google's emails, because somebody might request access to your page, just like that. That's a sidebar, but maybe that's where you start. So really, creating a page may be as simple as claiming ownership of the page. Or if that's not the case, and you could not find the page to claim, you would then simply tap the blue text, add your business to Google. It's going to load a guided wizard for setting it up, and you're going to give it your name, your category, click next to go through all the steps. Now, caution, I would not do this yet. I would finish this course because we're going to talk about a lot of techniques and optimizations to help your profile rank. And spoiler, Google does not like it when the owners of these pages make tons of changes all the time. They might suspend it. So what I know is really go make a page now and then be editing it the whole way, because that might actually get you in trouble. So be advised, all people watching this course over whatever span of time you watch through all these videos, it would be better to sort of consume everything and then at the very end, tactfully decide what changes or optimizations you want to make. You don't want to be making it as we go, or you could actually cause kind of an issue for yourself, right? So we create or claim ownership of our existing Google business page. And then next, you got to get your business page verified. Now, in the course, you're going to find some resources with very helpful links like this one here. It's actually a guide to verify your Google business page. You're literally going to follow its steps, because what's actually happening is once you've filled out your profile completely, you're going to request that Google looks at your profile and verifies that you're the business that you claim and say that you are. And here's the deal. Unverified businesses, A, they have a lot less control over their profiles. And B, they're never going to win with Google. You need to get verified. So when you submit for verification, there's going to be like this little PIN code number sequence on it. And when you get the postcard in your physical mailbox at the address that you say is where you do business, you're going to actually input that PIN code on a website that it tells you to go to say that, hey, I'm here, this is my address, it's my storefront, and I can verify my business. So it's going to be kind of a tedious process that involves actual physical snail, but that's how you verify your business on Google. Now, there could be some instances where Google's a little bit suspect of it. And they might say things like, I want you to take a picture of yourself standing in front of a sign. And they may give you very, very niche, random prompts, because there's actually a human being who works for Google, who is looking over your business to verify that it's real and legitimate. So that's how you get things going with Google. You create and or claim a Google business profile, and then you've got to get it verified. You have to get it verified. Then once that's done, we talk about all the technical goodness of how do we rank your profile higher, how do we generate more conversation calls. That's what I've got in store for you next.
So I was wrong, I Googled, it does say I'm local, but it's kind of. Right, so I need to change that.
But again, because you're probably gonna have several tweaks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get things going with Google. And that may be, you gotta make it, right? And you have starting points, so maybe
messing on my brain. Sorry, I'm easily confused.
so like you've got the hand of the fundamentals of our Google business page, you understand the game plan. And so next we talk about how to access and edit your Google Business Profile Manager, so that as you learn things over the course of our course, you're able to implement things and actually get the results tangibly in your business. So first we'll talk about how to actually access your profile in Google Search and Google Maps and edit inside of those platforms. And then we'll switch gears and talk about that Business Profile Manager, which is kind of a back-end dashboard command central for managing your presence on Google. And then we're going to actually take quite a bit of time and get Google on the feeds. We're going to fill out the details about your business so that Google understands contextually what you do, who you are, and how to make you in different searches. And then we're going to talk about this mythical creature called Googlebot and what it means for your Google business profile. And then last, we'll talk about some exciting stuff like managing and understanding insights like the page and analytics, so you can dial things in the right direction. That's and editing your Google business profile, your business listing, and there's actually a lot of different ways. Now, maybe you might recall in 2021, and I already alluded to this once, that they changed the name of this product from Google My Business to a Google Business Profile. And when they made that change, they also said you can now edit your business listing inside of Google Search or Google Maps on mobile and on desktop. Now, I'm going to talk about multiple ways to edit your business listing. A lot of folks got confused and thought they were taking away functionality. They weren't actually. They were adding additional functionality. So the ways in which we can basically tinker with and change the different settings and so forth in our business profiles is actually you can just Google search yourself. And if you're logged into the master Google account that's associated with your Google business listing, you'll see an option to edit. You can also edit in Google Maps. You can do the same on mobile, Google Search or Google Maps. And then last, we'll talk about how to edit inside the Google Business Profile Manager. They need to work on the name because that's a mouthful. For starters, let's just do a Google search. Like, so for example, here on my screen, I did a Google search once again for Fargo Northwest. And you can see that I actually have managerial access to their page because look, I've always edited functionalities built in. I see the knowledge panel over here on the right-hand side. Look, I can actually add products in the actual knowledge panel. I can go down and I can tinker with the page here. I can add an update through Google Posts. You see that I have full built-in control. As long as I'm logged into the proper Google account right there, I have full built-in control. Now, in the main section of Google search over here, the results at the very tippy top, I see your business on Google, and it gives me some quick stats, 4,008 views this month, by the way. The Fargo Group is killing it with their Google business profile. I've got some buttons here like edit profile, promote customers, and then I've got this carousel, get more reviews, create an offer, learn more about your profile. I can toggle over and see I can create an ad, and some of this stuff is duplicative. So for example, I have this option here to create an ad or promote. This is all roads lead to Rome. They do the same thing, and you're gonna find that to be the case with Google. There's a lot of redundancy where I can click one button or another button and end up to the same place because they want to make it easy no matter where you are on the platforms to actually edit and tinker with your Google Business Profile. So for example, if I tap edit profile, it's going to pull up a little window and I can modify business information, which we'll do in a little bit. Set up hours of operation, add products, services, booking, add photos, my logo, my cover photo. I have the ability to toy with this page. I can also see notifications, get some help and support. If I click this little ... business profile settings and a lot of information there. I can collapse it. And then I can click this promote button right here. And if I do that, it has performance. I can actually see some analytics in terms of how is my page performing. This is a count from year to date. So January to June, when I'm filming this, 2022, it shows me activity that has happened over the course of the year with lots of charts and graphs and numbers and metrics that we're going to break down and analyze what they mean for your business. So that's another feature. I can click that and I can go through and I can just see how to ask for reviews, how to add photos, how to add updates, offers, set up events. I have full command central right here inside of Google search. So long as you're logged into the right Google account, that top level master Google account, it might be a Gmail or Workspace or a G Suite or whatever. As long as you're logged into the one with which your Google business profile is attached, you're going to see it right here in this view, right inside of Google search, and you can modify just about everything about the page right there. Business page to rank on Google, you've got to give Google all your deeds, all the details, all the information, because we'll talk more about like the in-depth technical side of Google's ranking factors in an upcoming module. But the reality is this: if you don't tell Google your phone number, your address, and details about your business, you'd be really hard pressed to expect Google to just readily rank without that information. So right now, we're going to focus on what should you feed to Google in order that it can have what we would call profile completeness, understanding who your business is and who it's for and all that fun stuff. So we're going to give Google the deets, and we're going to break it into two different limbs. There's your main data, and then there's your minor data. Let's talk first about the main data. So if I look over here on my profile manager, this is where I'm going to feed the information to it. I'm going to click on info. Now, let's look at the information. First and foremost, it's the name of the business. This is main data. Secondarily, it's business category or categories. That's what these are. Now, I know I'm going fast right now. I'm going to talk about the implications of these things and how they factor into the search ranking results later. And then I just want you to know what's the main data Google needs. That's the name of your business, and it's the business category or categories. So like, for example, if I just make this little pencil here, I can edit it. And it's got, and you can't just make these categories whatever you want. You have to type in like real estate, and there's a pre-populated list of options you can or can't choose for your business. Couple of things to make sure of. One, there is this thing called category dilution. Category dilution. So what a lot of people are tempted to do is they're like, oh, if I choose a bunch of categories, then I can rank in all these different things. And so they say things like, I'm an appraiser, I'm a property value, I'm a this and that, and things that they aren't necessarily actually doing in terms of their business. And what they're really doing is they're diluting their primary category. See, like, look how this is laid out. I've got a primary category right here, and then I can add endless additional categories. There's technically no rule that says adding 7 categories or 3 categories or 2 categories or 1 additional category has any impact. The only thing that really matters is not how many additional categories you choose, but whether or not they reinforce the primary category. You see, if they reinforce the primary category, yay, that's wonderful. But if they don't, then they dilute it, meaning you're going to rank less. Now, I'm getting someone ahead of myself, but this is main data for Google. Go back to when we talked about verifying the Google business page. Google is verifying based upon its primary data, its main data, the name of the business, the address of the business, the website of the business, the phone number of the business, these categories about the business. These are all of the major points, the major ingredients where Google's like, yes, we verify this business. And so think about the implication. If you make changes to main data, you potentially call the question, is your verification still valid? I'm just going to ask the question now. I'll answer it later. So we talked about the profile name, and we talked about the categories of your business. And the third primary data point, main data point, is the physical address of your business page. Now, a couple of little caveats. Some of you might not have an office address. And you're like, can I use my home address? And you can, but I'm like, that's kind of weird. It's your privacy, but do what you want. Can you use a PO box? And the answer is no. Google does not allow PO box. Google expects a physical address, a storefront whereby you can interface with customers. Like, that was one of the criteria for being eligible for a Google business page. Now, one more caveat. Google is accustomed to the fact that you have lots of agents potentially officing out of the same physical address. That's normal for them. They expect that with law firms, they expect that with real estate agencies, they expect that with lots of different business models. So don't worry about that. But the physical address is a major point that Google's looking for, upon which is going to verify the business. Our next major point of data that Google's looking for is their phone number. Now, a question I get asked a lot is, hey, does it have to be a local phone number? Can I use a trackable, voice over IP kind of phone number? The answer is none of that stuff really matters. Here's what really matters to Google. Remember, Google's you. And so if they see your profiles on Zillow, on Realtor.com, on your website, there's a different phone number because you're using unique trackable phone numbers across every single page, they're going to start seeing inconsistency, and that's going to be what hurts your Google business profile rankings, is because they're different phone numbers, not whether or not it's a local phone number. So here's my advice. If you want to use a unique trackable number for your Google business profile, fine. Make that the main phone number. But if you look here, you can actually click this little pencil and you can add additional phone numbers like this, and you should make your main office line, whatever your cell phone, whatever you use, that secondary number, so people can see, oh, we can rest in peace because we now know you're using a consistent phone number across the map. And then the last major point of data that Google looks for is your website. Now, this one also has caveats. You're going to realize there's nothing but caveats in this entire course, but once you get them, you've got them. So you're going to link your Google business profile to your main URL, your domain, jasonpantana.com, tomferry.com. the main URL. If you do not have your own website, well, look over here on this left-hand sidebar. Google actually has a built-in website feature. Like I'm going to click on the followers, and you can actually get a custom domain for it. This one's currently Aaron-Far-degrees, blah 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 .business.site. You can actually buy a custom domain for it, and you can literally build it out in this, kind of light version website builder inside of your Google Business Profile Manager. And it automatically pulls in your posts, your photos, and your reviews, and things like that. This should only be used if you don't have a better website. If you have a main website, use it because the SEO of that website, I can almost guarantee you, is going to be infinitely stronger using this little landing page. It's called a Google Business Profile landing page that's built inside of that profile manager. But your website is another main data point. But let's take a step back for a second. We're talking about main data that Google looks at, but why they look at it? Because they're going to verify your business. And so if you're going to verify, then you go tinker and change all of these little details, this main data, you are potentially calling into question the legitimacy of your verification, which means you might have to resubmit for verification, or they may actually suspend your page because they don't think it's verified any longer. You have to go through that whole process, which we'll cover later. But my point to you is, we should let it rest. This is main data that should not change often. So that is all the main data that Google looks at with your business page. We'll talk about minor data next, but again, it's your phone number, it's your address, it's the business categories, it's the website, it's the name of your business, and this is stuff that you don't want to change often. Set it and let it build SEO over time. Now, let's transition and talk about the minor data that Google collects. So let's dive into the profile manager, and you'll see they've got kind of mixed together your main data, your minor data. I'm the one who's distinguishing which one's which. But if I scroll through here, let's look first at service areas. You can specify up to 20 different service areas where you take care of customers, going on listing appointments, showing properties, whatever, right? And what's nice about this is it literally, if somebody Googles the name of your business, they may see a portion of that that actually outlines where you actually service clients. So they're like, oh, you do work in my area. You can add 20, it can be postal codes, zip codes, counties, all the different areas you service. Now, it's important to note, service areas do not help you rank better in those areas if somebody's looking for an agent in a blank zip code or something like that. This is all cosmetic, but it does help reinforce to a customer who's already discovered you if you do or don't serve where they live, where they're interested in living or moving to, or whatever it is. So service areas is minor data, but it's important data. Next, let's scroll down to your hours of operation. Here's one that Google doesn't like. Google does not like open 24 hours a day because they don't believe you. And in fact, they're going to actually put prompts and notifications inside your profile manager, like, are you actually open? Are you actually open? They're trying to get you to tell the truth.
Got it, man.
What's that?
No matter.
Thanks. Duh. Hey, extension.
CPUs.
My trusty extension card. Because it always seems to like leave battery quickly.
It could be your 32,000.
What's that?
It's your 32,000.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
You call through.
That you're not actually open. So I
Close them all, I have to save them so I can find them again because that's my battle usually is like, where was I? So like I've been researching certification courses that I want to do over the holiday. And before I could close those this morning, I had to create a bookmark file so that I could save them all and get back to them later because I didn't want to do the research again. So that's why they end up staying okay.
encourage folks like you to have reasonable hours of operation. Like for example, maybe 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. It's maybe a little bit exaggerated beyond what you actually do, but not so far-fetched that Google doesn't believe. All right, we continue to scroll down, and now we see this little app forward indefinitely. It's basically streaming. I gotta tell you, this one does very little for you on any front for Google. It's actually kind of a leftover from the Google Plus days, but it's still here, so you might as well fill in the field. Scrolling down past our website, which is main data, you can add a plugin like Calendar, whatever service you might use for a customer to actually schedule with you. You can drive them to those specific pages where they can coordinate meetings with you in real time. And then next, let's go down to services. I want you to notice the color separation. Some of these are orange, some of these are black. The orange one, this is foreshadow. There's actually a lot more of this conversation that's going to be coming in the future video. These are published but recommended edits from Google. So remember, Google's always Googling you. And as they scan, they sometimes find blogs or other profiles or things that they think you do. And so they'll come here and they often say, we think you, in this case, are an exterior painter or an interior painter. Most likely, there is some random keyword on a blog post on the Harvard's website that is making Google think this. We'll talk about this later, but we're going to just reject those edits later on, and then we'll unpublish them from the page. However, these services, I want us to think about these as adjectives that describe the categories up here. So I'm going to say that again. You can establish categories. And remember, we're taking from a pre-populated list of categories: real estate agency, real estate agent, real estate consultant. Every single category I choose, I am then given the option to add services that describe that category. Again, they're like adjectives and adjectives that describe what they're doing. So like if I go down here and click the pencil, notice here's real estate agency, that's kind of the head. And then here I've got real estate agent. And then I can click show more and I'll get real estate consultant. And the FARs have gone in and they have literally added services that describe each respective category with greater detail, which is helping to give some contextual understanding to Google of who are they relevant. Remember we talked about ranking, we talked about relevance, prominence, distance. Relevance is going to take into consideration all kinds of context, such as all the details you feed it in your profile. This is where we put our money where our mouth is. Let's keep scrolling on and see what other goodies are stashed inside of our profile manager from Google. I can add attributes. You can put the pencil, and there's a whole bunch of attributes that you can pick from, kind of a preset category, preset menu of attributes that Google recognizes. You can pick and choose the ones that are applicable for you. I can add accessibility features, wheelchair entrance, things along those lines. I can talk about the crowd, the amenities. Some amenities can be like, we offer free Wi-Fi. Don't. I'll tell you why, but you have all these options in terms of different little contextual details that you can supply with that tell it more about how you do your business. Scrolling down, health and safety, service options, and then we have this description, which is basically your bio. This is just a little more about you, and it's giving you more contextual relevance to who you are and what you do and all that kind of stuff. And finally, they offer a little spot to say, maybe you open to your doors, so to speak. And I typically advise people in your position, like when you got licensed, when you started your business is when you opened. That's all your minor data plus all your main data. It's you feeding the machine. It's you giving Google all the deets about your business. So they can recognize like who you relevant for based upon their search queries on Google. Best listing agent, best realtor nearby, all that context. I want to see you rank higher than Google. And to do that, you got to dot every I, cross every T, and fill out the post. Beach runs part one. The scene where the Jeeps break down, there's a rainstorm, conveniently right next to the T-Rex exhibit, and then the power of the whole park goes out. And the kids are alone in the front Jeep, and Dr. Grant, the paleontologist, is in the back Jeep, and they're separated. The T-Rex is coming in, and Dr. Grant makes this line in the movie. And he says, be absolutely still. The T-Rex's vision is based upon movement, as if he's willing the children to hear what's said. But they're in the front car, and they hear nothing. They do the exact opposite. They grab flares and flashlights and make all kinds of commotion. And like a moth to the flame, the T-Rex comes to them. You're like, oh, hopefully you remember the movie scene. And if not, if you've never seen this movie, you can Netflix it this Friday. I don't know. But the point is, Google can behave a lot like that T-Rex. Its vision is based upon movement. In other words, if you make too many edits to your profile, if you're tinkering all the time, every single edit summons the Google bot. What's the Google bot? Okay, let's talk about basic Google functionality. So Google has this thing called Googlebot. It's a web crawler. And the job of that web crawler is to literally scan the recesses of the internet. Anytime a new page gets published or an edit to a page occurs, the Google bot is deployed to scan it and scan all that data and report findings back to Google, and then Google indexes all that information so that when you Google ice cream shop nearby, Google has an index of all the data on all of that that was retrieved by Googlebot so that it can serve up to you the most relevant results. And so every time you make an edit to your business profile, you summon Googlebot. Moreover, whenever you edit the major data, that main data, it's even more severe because you're tinkering, you're changing things. That looks suspect to Google because Google's vision is based on motion. And so keep those changes at a minimum. And again, I talked about it before. I said, don't just make your page, map out the entirety of your strategy, and then in one sitting, go in and knock it out because it looks more formulated and it looks less suspect. Try to make as little movement as possible.
There, and then we're gonna look at a bunch of our.
Just in general, it's hard to know how to make something better if you don't understand what's making it work or not work in the first place, which is why I'm going to take some time right now and talk about how to interpret the findings, the meaning of our insights tab. So inside the profile manager, we're going to tap on insights. And it's going to have a whole variety of charts and graphs that I'm going to explain to you pretty succinctly so you can understand, like, hey, what's working? How do I move that needle further to make my page perform even better? First one says how customers search for your business. And there's really two ways they find them on the top. The first way is direct, and the second way is through discovery. We kind of ignore this branding section. So direct means people who find your business profile searching for your business by its name on Google. Okay, what does that mean? Well, we talked about before. If I search Bar Group NW, I'm going to see their page in the knowledge panel, but what people search more, the name of the business or the business they conduct, realtor, real estate agent? And the answer is obviously the latter. And so that's discovery. People who find your business profile searching for a category, product, or service. It's important to rank on both. Now, if you look at this profile, this belongs to Starting Real Estate Agents, Blue Coast Team, EXP Realty Canada. This is Sean Ryan's page. He is in Starting Lands in Ontario. Look at this. In the past month, he is ranked on Google 24,396 times across direct searches and across discovery-based searches. That's bananas. And in fact, his Google business profile is a major pillar of his business, just like it can be for you. And it's merely set and forget it. I mean, there's work involved. But the thing about Google business profiles is once you figure out what's working and you keep on doing that, you submit the SEO of your page where you become the one to beat, and it becomes a mainstay in your business. So that's the first little section I want to show you. Next, notice this little tile up here. It says your insights are moving. Click to see new profile performance. Let's hit it. And this is a year-to-date time period, January 2022, June 2022. So 6 months of data. It has got all kinds of charts and graphs. I want to highlight a couple of things. The first one is over here, it's got this number, 34,784. That is the number of searches that show Sean's Google business profile in the Google search results. And here it breaks down the actual terms for which users search in their queries. Now, we can understand what the exact words and phrases that people are using. And if I start ranking on those, I'm going to keep reinforcing those words and phrases across all my content because I want to keep ranking even more. And that's exactly what Sean Ryan has done with this page here. So you'll notice the top term is starting real estate, MLS starting, realtor starting realtor. All those terms are literally being shown thousands of times across Google. And to me, that's just awesome. Now, if I look over here to the left-hand section, it shows me how people view my profile. More specifically, where they view my profile. Do they view it on Google Search Mobile, Google Search Desktop, Google Maps Mobile, Google Maps Desktop? Again, not only is it critical that I understand what are the things people are typing in Google that my profile ranks so I can keep loading up those keywords all over my page, which we'll talk about, but also where are they consuming or seeing my page? Where are they consuming? So that I can keep optimizing accordingly. Now, let's talk about customer actions. There's a couple of different spots to measure this. I can, of course, do it here. I can click on calls, and I can see when the calls come in, and it showed me when we missed calls and all kinds of details. How many calls we got I can click on messages, bookings, directions, website clicks, to see how many people are clicking to go over to Sean's attached URL, his website. It's literally 2,841 people tap that website. So you can see all kinds of interactions being logged with customers so that, again, we understand what's working, because whatever's working, I would like to do more of that. Now, I'm gonna tap the X here. I'm gonna go back to this old school view. I'm gonna scroll down, just show you some other sections. There's some additional data on where people look at your business. Notice that Google search in orange versus Google Maps in red, the money's getting made on Google search. Now, it's a combo of desktop and mobile, but it's happening on Google search. It's going down in the map pack. Scrolling down more, I see customer actions. Again, I can do it by the month, by quarter, by week. I can look at visits to my website, people who request directions, I don't, whatever. I never quite get that one, but it apparently happens. And then calls directly made. Now, keep in mind, the calls directly made means they tapped the call button on the actual profile. Now, think about it. If people are finding your profile on Google search on their computers, they're not tapping a button to call. They're plugging your phone number into their phone manually. So whatever number you see here in terms of the calls you received, it's low. You're getting more than that. Scroll down more, you can see when calls are coming in. So you can see, like, we should really staff up on Sundays. We get a lot of phone calls on Sundays, for instance, and things like that. And then it shows you photo views, which also includes video views. And you can see how your page is versus how many other pages. And it shows you how many photos and videos you have compared to others. My point to you is, you've got to get inside that profile manager and analyze the insights. What's working, what's not working, double down on what works, stop what doesn't work. But you don't know unless you know the story, and data tells the story.
Okay, so that's the last of the videos today, so I want to dive into a couple of the profiles. Sam, I'm gonna put you on the first. What do you think the name, what is your name?
Sam Forrest, S2, let's see.
Again, cool, okay. So, now, if, 2 reviews.
Well, I never used this one yet here. Never did, so when I met Caitlin, we set it up one
Okay.
time, so I got reviews from the 2 that was.
So one of the reasons we're starting this particular series first is it used to be social media, like Facebook, was your #1. That is no longer true. It's Google. And they say now, and again, this just changed in the last year or so, that everything you post to social media should actually go to Google first. Videos, photos, articles, things like that. So when we get into some of the tech tools, one of the reasons why I really hunted a calendar is because most of the tools out there don't post to Google. So if you are using the Canva posting, calendar, it doesn't go to Google, it doesn't go to Pinterest, it doesn't do TikTok. If you just put, a lot of people think, well, I'll just post to Facebook and Instagram because I can use the meta scheduler. Well, yeah, that's all it does. And even like listings to leads, it's a shortcoming because they don't post to Google either, other than your reviews. Actually, that's right, my agent. So the problem is if Google is the kind of the feeder of them all from an SEO perspective, you've got to be more purposeful with Google. So Caitlin, one of the advantages when we opened as a brokerage, originally we hired out a lot of our third-party services to other entities, national entities that are partners with Realty One, like OG National, things like that. The problem is, at the time, we didn't have time to understand it, but that also meant we didn't understand it, so it's hard for us to teach it. We, as we've gotten more mature as a brokerage, we've pulled a lot of that in-house. And so, for instance, Caitlin, that's her job on our staff, is to actually, she manages our social media posting. So when I was researching tools and I stumbled upon, I literally was about to pay about $300 a month for the brokerage to have this fancy calendar where we can do Google and everything all at once. before I did that, I decided to do one last search, and lo and behold, I found a service called Social Channel that is intended for folks like Tess, like Caitlin, as an entity that's managing media for businesses like ours. The beauty is though, it's $29, and they don't care who you are. And so I had Caitlin test it, and within about a week, she's like, oh my God, this is the best thing, because like in her case, she's got 2 businesses she manages. She manages her real estate, she manages her fitness consulting, or training, coaching. So she was able to manage her postings on all of her accounts for both businesses with $129 a month account,
That's social.
the Social Channel. And so she's done, I think I owe her a week, the week was right.
I know it's staff.
So literally what you did, is you are scheduling your social media content. But you don't have to build your content, so this isn't a misnomer. You have to, when I was sharing this with Travis a few weeks ago, he goes, well, I don't want to be a social media creator. You don't have to be a content creator. But think about all the things that you put out there already, whether it's articles or graphics that you get from Keeping Current Matters, whether you get stuff out of news media. In my case, I sometimes find articles on Newsweek I share. For instance, I'm horrible. If my social media was left, if our social media was left to me, we'd be in big trouble. Because the only time I ever post anything is if I'm sitting still, which as you all know, does not happen very often. So that either means I'm about ready to go to bed, I'm waiting for the doctor office to open up for me, I'm waiting for my kid on something. I literally have to be sitting like, that's the only time I've ever on Facebook either is, I gotta burn time. Oh, because it's not like something I just do if I'm in my normal work mode. So what that can mean though is I find 4 or 5 things I'm interested in posting and I post them all at once, right? Well, that kind of defeats the purpose. So what I've learned to do is, in my case, I'm not having to do my own schedule because Caitlin is. I'll just forward them to her and then she'll lay them in the calendar. But she's also, I can also grab things from Keeping Current Matters. I can grab things off the Realty One Group Facebook page. I can grab them from, if you know, on the branding page for Facebook or social Realty One Group, we have all kinds of assets. Do you guys know how to find that? Okay, so I'll show you that. Yeah, go ahead.
Will Social Channel, track energy you produce?
Will they do what?
Will they go after your plans?
No, they don't. It's literally a post. It's just.
So I was sharing with Sam the other day, it's a really good service, I used to use it, I never returned them, it's been called Ogbo, OGTBO.
There's several. I know you're going. Go ahead. I'll give you some things to think about. I'll give you some things to think about. I'm very familiar.
Well, I used them 3 years ago, so maybe there's something better now, but, yeah, they basically, you submit a list of whoever you want, if you're closing this for that month, you can go back, years, if you had closings 3 or 4 years ago, you never got a review, they'll track all these people down, you can on text. And they'll prompt them, you tell them how often you want to prompt them, if you want it daily, once a week, whatever. And they'll just say, hey, click this to leave a review, and then you tell them, like you said, I want a review, we just kind of give a review, and it prompts them, and they do it, and they give a review. But if they don't do it, and keep talking about it, they can unsubscribe, obviously.
Yeah.
Most people, it's a great way to generate.
There is, it's dangerous, and so let me explain it, because Rate My Agent does the same thing. The Rate My Agent is actually one of your tools that's part of your tech stack from Realty One Group. And if you pay for their upgrade, it'll actually post your reviews to your Google page like an app and to your social media. The problem with that is I've learned from our course in Denver, and it'll come up, I'm sure, later on, is to rank in a Google search, you actually want keywords in it. The best way to get keywords in your reviews is to ask your clients for specific feedback. For instance, I have one I need to send out tonight. It's a divorce case, I've got a buy and sell. And they also say, be careful of the mode medium you ask them on because it will drive the kind of review you get. So if you send it as a text, which I used to do, you will get a short feedback because we don't type as much on our phones, especially my clientele is typically over 40. But if you send the request by email, where they're likely on their computer when they give the feedback, but send them the text that you send them the email, the text is in front of them and it triggers their brain. But if they're actually filling out the feedback on the computer, they're likely going to give you a longer, more detailed feedback. And oh, by the way, that feedback then rolls into SEO. So what we're learning to do, I have completely quit using any of the automatic tools, because I had several of them. And I quit completely. I only use Google because we can bring them into our meetings. I'll show you now. But Google's the one that counts the most. So what I'm going to do is type my clients an email. We're trying to set up some task reminders to ourselves. When do you want to do that? Well, that's different. I used to think I wanted to do it after closing. The problem is that they're in move mode, right? So we don't want to bother them when they're in move mode. So one of the things I got out of the Denver's conference that some of us went to is maybe you want to ask them when they're most excited. Either the night or two before closing, or even maybe when they go under contract. I don't like going into the contract. I really like a night or two before closing, because they're still pumped. They haven't moved in yet and find all the little nuances that they didn't see on the inspection, right? Because no house is perfect. They're not tied up in a move where if you feel like you're in their way, asking them to give you a review. But I'm also learning to ask for very specifics. So like in this case of my divorcing family, you know, I want to send him one on his sale and one on his purchase. Well, his purchase was all about patience, finding the right one. He wanted in certain school districts, the whole bit, helping him with a handyman to tweak it, make his, and then we had a chimney we stacked, we had to rebuild and several things like that. So I wanted to be, and he's one of my military guys, so I wanted to be very specific about how we helped him manage time, because as now a single dad, you know, we're going and helping him with those appointments because he can't take a lot more time off after buying and selling a house. On the set side, we got quite the dynamic between the two spouses, to the point where having to arrange a Sunday closing and all kinds of things, right? Well, I want him to be very specific in that feedback about how it worked in a very difficult situation, keep all parties calm, moving to the same goal, blah, 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 right? The other thing that I picked up, he hasn't hit on yet, that we got out of the Denver conference with him, is that if you have keywords like best realtor, you want to kind of encourage your folks to put those kind of words in your reviews. So that's the danger of using a lot of these services, as opposed to getting some kind of task management where you're triggering yourself to send them at a certain time, because it really only takes a few minutes, but yet we don't do it. And so, and then there are aggregators like Reach 150 and others that will take and pull from Zillow and Realtor.com and Rate My Agent and Google and put them all in place. But for now, I think getting your Google reviews up and then looking at, like, for some of us who've been around, and once upon a time Zillow was what we had, once upon a time was Realtor.com. I haven't been viewing this place in 3 or 4 years. But yet, when somebody searches us, it'd be nice for them to see that. Like at this point, I probably between Google and Realtor and Zillow, right, have a good 100 plus out there. It would be nice to get them aggregated. But not a lot of us are in that boat. So focusing first on your Google and getting that consistent, and they don't have to be clients. So, you know, think about the folks that you help to give evaluation on whether or not it makes sense to do renovation, or do I do a rental or sell, or helping with hey, my mom and dad is where you're trying to figure out how to handle their trust, and you educate them on beneficiary. I met with another sphere of ours yesterday on a divorce, and they're not going to sell for 4 years, but I walked her through what that settlement needs to look like for titling, hooking it up with a private appraisal, you know, all those kinds of things. There's a lot of things we do that aren't oriented towards a closing, but we can get reviews on those. Google does not tie to a closing. Where Rate My Agent and some of the others do, they have to tie to a closing. And what you can do though is once you've got your Google reviews, let's say you got 50 of them, but let's say 30 of them are time closing. Then you go into a place like Rate My Agent, which again is one of your free text tasks. You import those from Google and they will have you tag them to a specific address. And now those get captured by my agent as well. And now, like in my case, I paid the upgrade fee because I wanted to just automatically feed over to my Google like ad. And now I get that too. So there's lots of little bells and whistles, but it all starts with the basic review and getting those reviews to be as detailed as possible. Because the more detailed they are, the more likely you are to get that kind of client. So I do a lot of information work with my clients. I do staging. I work with a lot of divorces, probates, move ups, move downs, new construction. So all these little areas we do, you know, we want them to be not, oh, help me find my home, great agent. Help me find my new home after looking at 15 communities and help me negotiate a great loan buyout or whatever, right? We want them to be as specific as possible because how do you stand out in a market with 4,500 agents in the region? Okay, so that, I think you gotta be a little bit more purposeful.
Thank you for that, great feedback.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. The reason why I like the automation for reviews is I'm guilty, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, like getting reviews to be a process in and of itself. And if you don't have a process for it, you're not gonna get most of the reviews. People don't wait, no matter how you say. Yeah, people usually don't give a review, it's like, it's like 1 star, that's a it's gotta be like super great or super bad, it's just okay, most of us don't leave a review. So hopefully it's 5 star, obviously. Like, I was always coaching trained to talk about the review throughout the process, but now, like, hey, by the way, I'm gonna 5-star review, I'm gonna be asking at the end for review, right? So they know that back in mind, I've already brought it up 2 or 3 times throughout the process. Yeah. And I might call them and just say, hey, just check in, by the way, I'm providing 5-star service. Oh yeah, Travis, you're doing great, blah, blah, blah. So you're doing a lot of handholding, you can keep saying 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. Because I make deal with you 5 on 1. I tell them I want 5, or I want review. Yeah, that's fair to tell them that too. But so, but what I've been guilty of the whole year, especially during COVID, is moving here from Colorado, you guys know I'm still kind of new. I dropped the ball on reviews all the time.
You're 20 behind.
And Tom Harris, you don't have a
I'm
review.
about 20 behind.
Tom Harris said, if you don't have a review in the last 60 days, you're wrong.
But you're actually supposed to have minimum of 2 to, and all this will come up in the course. They want to have a minimum of 2 to 3 a month.
Yes.
On Google and at least 2 to 3 posts a week.
Yeah.
And that's.
I mean, that's a new page for me, so I can go
Yeah.
back,
You
but
can't go back.
but would it be right to go back a few years?
Yeah.
Yeah, every client you notice, it creates conversation, you're gonna call them, you're gonna let them go, hey, right away, right? Like, it's just another reason to touch on it.
Well, the other side of it is though too, like, so I'm guilty, right? Because I don't like to use services. Again, my sphere, Sam's sphere is very similar to my sphere and Edmonds. When you're retired military and a good chunk of your folks are coming from your military connections, we do not respond to combination. It's like, you gotta have a personal touch or forget it. But if they're happy with this and we ask, like we would, hey, you want to go out drinking? Hey, you know, can you do this review for me? And we're very open with them. Like I have been, hey guys, I'm really behind. You know, do you mind taking a minute and giving me this review? Even when I was building Google, I could go back to some folks that were maybe a year old and say, hey, I know you gave me a Zillow review 2 years ago, but the market has changed. And with me building my business in today's market, I have to move towards Google. I'm not able to copy over your review. Would you mind giving me some feedback on that transaction to help me build my new business? Oh, absolutely. And sometimes they already know about it. Sometimes it's me admitting I'm behind. And they don't care. Because most of these folks are folks I go out of beer with. If they're not folks that I want to go out of beer with, that's probably not asking them.
No, if you haven't talked to them in a couple of years, probably should call ask for reviews and stuff.
Some of them you just follow on Facebook. I mean, you know, you've got folks that you know, like my family that was living in Uncle Sam, I don't talk to them so much, but I see their Facebook stuff all the time and comment.
Yeah.
And that's the one that you don't have to have. They got little kids and like running 2 careers. They don't expect to talk to me on a regular basis, but they know that we're connected because hey, how's Disney Paris, you know? What a little great time that was, you know, and so even when I sent them the invite for Santa, I said, man, I don't know if you're back in Paris or not, but. You know, what? So sometimes it is admitting, we're just, sorry, I've been disconnected, I just moved brokerages, or, and you may not go back, 3 or 4 years, you clearly go back for years, so.
It's a lot of, it just, and at the email, text them, send an email, have them write it out, have a conversation, bring you say, can you tell me why it was a good experience? Like Joe just said, hey, review or, you know, say why, can you tell, you know, but I don't know, I'm a big proponent of the automation because it can be a time suck. I'm always looking for ways to create. more
It
time.
is, but you gotta be careful what brand. Careful what brand you're creating. Because we're all different, right? My brand, my brand is one of personal relationship, connection, partnership, and we're in here for the long haul. It's not about the transaction list. So I want every step of that touch point, even if I'm 3 months behind, to resonate that brand. If I'm not a plug and play realtor, I don't, you know, I'm not referral only. But if that text sergeant calls me off of Google, or because so-and-so told them that I would be a great agent for them, then from that point on, when they connect with me, I want them to get the same warm experience as the guy or gal that I've known for 20 years. And if we don't connect in that level, I'm probably not the right agent for them, because I'm not transactional. And I don't want to be, if I have to be transactional and sales focused in this business, I don't want to be in this business. That's me. But because I'm not a salesman, I have to use sales techniques to get in front of my clients. But when it starts feeling like a cell phone, I'm done. I want nothing to do with it. And no one's the same way. That's why we work with all those partners. But everybody's different and everybody's market's different. And I'm just, you know, again, Travis, you're not from the military community, but I can tell you it is a different breed. We work differently and we connect. You know, like I was interviewing with a firefighter yesterday who's a realtor, and we were having the same conversation that while his market won't just be firefighters, it will likely be surgical writers because it is a different mindset, and so how we relate with our clients is going to be a little bit different.
Your vibe attraction, tribe.
Yeah, and I want that because there are some people I don't like working with. And that's something I've spent a lot of time over the last couple of years since opening this place, is understanding who is my client avatar, but who's my agent avatar too when it comes to recruiting. Because I recruit completely different today than I did a year and a half ago. So I don't like all the agents we got, and some of them are left, and I'm like, go. You need to go back to them, because you need to go someplace where it's just a job and it's just a sale, because I don't. That's not me, and it's hard for me to teach that. But you know, you can do many things here, and we want you to find your own niche, but understand that when you want more referrals from your previous clients, that you've got to be careful about how you manage even that feedback method, because the more they feel like you're their friend or their partner, the more likely they are to not just give you good feedback, but even to send you another client. So it all kind of goes together, and it's not always going to save you time. You know, just saying. So you got to be careful about branding. So Sam, you've had a lot of deals this year, and you had quite a few last year. I would at least go back this year, last year. Especially the folks, I mean, you won't have the same connection with every one of them, but you're probably doing about 80% of their personality. You know, anyway, Kevin. You know, now sometimes you guys will get one from us, right? You'll get like Sam, I actually got on my list that I need to say, hey Sam, can you give me a review? Because on the brokerage site, not only are customers looking, agents are looking. But don't forget to go to your partners, go to your lending partner, go to your staging partners, go to your plumber partner, go to folks who know.
Doesn't have to be a sale.
Does not have to be a set. It could be.
It shouldn't be on the best. You're doing better than you're just
It shouldn't be all the fun. You've got folks who come to you over beer for advice. Hey, I'm really thinking about jumping in November. Well, you got a good 6 months until, you know, we have more inventory and there's less business. What if it is? those guys are still great to give you a review, so sometimes you're pretty not bad.
Referrals, but I've given good advice to in the past, and with other people, like, would you be willing to leave a review, you know, we had a good experience, and that's helpful.
So,
Yeah.
when school is movable, then fire your kids on it, back in the day, Zillow, they asked you. Did you do a transaction with this person, if you put it out, and who do you want to do a review?
Yeah, and Rate My Agent's the same way, and that's why when they first gave us Rate My Agent as a tech stack, I was using it heavily, and I was automating my requests, but I wasn't getting great feedback. I'll tell you, it was about a third, even when they were happy. And because it's so generic, right, most of this is more generic feedbacks. So I went to text until we went to that class in Denver, and then I realized, oh yeah, I do want one, and I do want them to use best. And then I have agents or clients who specifically said, man, you guys do things so different. Yeah, I look at it in my reviews, and that's not gonna come by me sending them a quick text, especially when they're my age and they're, around that 60 mark. There's no way they're gonna type me a long review on their phone.
Hey, Carrie.
Here's a good talk track. Carrie, can I ask you a favor? It's a route call. That's okay. Sure. Would it be okay if you give me a review on Google on our experience? You just agree to do me a favor?
Yeah.
I asked if it would be okay. Most people want things to be okay.
I mean, and again, it depends. I mean, I've got a client I've talked to 3 times in the last month between social events and helping them get their house put into their trust now that it's all done. But I know I can go to her in a heartbeat and just say, hey, Jody, when you have a minute, would you mind giving me a Google review, and please consider the whole spectrum of not just finding your house and helping find it remotely from Reno, but also the assistance with your trust and things like that, because I love creating relationships with folks like you, and I want others to know that's how we do business. Oh my God, it's partly Carrie. That's what she's telling me. So, again, it depends on how relational you are. I think what your delivery is. If it was somebody I hadn't talked to in a while, I would probably be interested, when you do get favorable approach. But
Carrie? Carrie?
in a new construction project for the year, it's a $2 million house. And they were so grateful for the patience and finding that, because they didn't start out with reconstruction, and they got really frustrated a couple of times. And we hate to waste your time, and we kept telling them, this is the process, especially when you're at your price point, you're over $1 million, and this is your retirement plan, which your dream home. You have to find the right one. You'll know when you find it, but you can't find it if you don't know. And then you did, okay, we feel better. And then when we found it, they're like, oh my God, thanks for not letting us quit. I need to get a review now, not wait until the construction's over, because I can get another one when the construction's over. So you're not tied to one either.
I've been really bad at this, but as we're talking about this, I remember learning years ago that there's what's called these monumental moments, right? And real estate, and I'm worried, I want to shade inside of my son's going. So for example, like, when you go into contract, that's a monumental moment. When you get through inspection, that's a monumental moment. There can be sometimes maybe appraisal, maybe there were some hiccups and came through or whatever, but not necessarily you can bring up a review, but I think what's most important is to these monumental moments. And I need to be better at this, is that finish over is supposed to be out into referrals. We don't need to wait for the transactions closed and over with, that referral, we're supposed to ask for referrals throughout the transaction, because sometimes it's that monumental moment, they're like, you know what, I just had dinner last night with Betty Sue, and Betty Sue said she went to the strip house, great. Yeah. So you do it like people are on these kind of highs, right? In monumental moments, that's when we can move in as professionals and ask for a referral.
All right, so who else has Google pages been up for a while? Caitlin has, yours been up. Caitlin Hogan, soon.
Yeah, Caitlin.
The page had me worried about this, alert. Like, learn how to.
All right, so Caitlin's got 6 reviews. So one thing I just need in your Sam is, let's see if we get through this course. I suspect we're gonna wanna flush out your description a little bit more, because yours was like a two-liner. Did you
That
see that?
thing is your website. It somehow pulled that from, the Realty One website.
In my Google page, like my description,
Yes, so when I go back to yours, here's your,
yeah. And I haven't really touched that since we built it, which
right,
can be good and bad, but.
yeah, we're not going to, right?
Yeah.
It's a mix over now in the course. But I suspect we'll come back to that. I think one of the things that again, I haven't watched this whole course, but I've seen in other courses that, you can do a Q&A section and things like that, so I have a feeling there'll be a fair amount, and honestly, I think that your hours, yeah, if you're closed on Sunday, that's great.
Oh, they're the focus.
Yeah, I get it. So I'm gonna go back to Caitlin's, and then we'll pull up. And you know what's interesting is none of us have, like best in any of our, so I'd be curious to see how that comes out. She is posting, you're posting direct now, right, off of social channel?
Yeah, I offer social shift.
Yeah, okay.
But ever since I started doing that, you gotta like hold my social media, like if you like scroll down, it has like videos and stuff that you see that, like those. Like it started pulling in my reels and stuff.
How does it, is it doing that on its own, or do you get to go in manually and put it
So you
in?
can put profiles in there now, but that just happened like a week ago.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know if it's from using social channel, but it started pulling like my YouTube videos and like
Okay.
TikTok posts and stuff.
And I think that's actually supposed to be one of the good things, because the more active your Google page is, the more that it not changes, but more postings, the more it shows up. Okay, so I'll put in, actually not up here. I might have to- How do I get it?
Got you.
So this is ours, so see, I need to change hours, it looks like, I'm gonna do it now, but ours is 24 hours. I will end up needing to add some phone numbers, because this is the lead phone that Owen and I use on all of our marketing. But because our profile sounded like you want your things to match across the board, and so we'll add both of our cell phones as we move through this, but not yet. And then, I know, trust me, I had to enlarge it myself. The listings, the nice thing is that actually comes from listings to leads, because I have Google type to it. But I'm sure we'll end up tweaking this a bit, and what I did, I think I told most of you when we started, is I asked Tess to look at the page before the course, make her changes as the new manager, and then let's see what we need to change when we're said and done, because I have a feeling, even for somebody who manages Google as a business, you know, she was super excited to take this class, because, you know, it's not something you can just, you know, go out and buy on the marketplace. You have to be part of the system, the operating system. So she's taken the media over Remax to from one of our other friends. So she's really diving into several of these programs right now. Laura, Benji, did you say you had your page up already?
Yeah, I haven't been for a while.
There you are. Well, see, I guess we.
Yeah, he's got one.
That's not.
What do you have, 6? 5? 5? All right. Okay. Check back tomorrow. When they start back.
You know, definitely not saying that, you know,
I've got some questions for you. When you're getting 5, and you got complete roof. It's fine, that's so. You heard what I asked.
So I did real estate agents near me. And, when I do that, we don't even rank. There's Crystal. I just changed our name recently, and so that probably pushed us way down. We were 12.
I set up when he was talking and you were there for a while, right?
Yeah,
So it might be because you're,
Yeah,
I love it.
you know what, I think you're right, I've had to do that.
Yeah.
before, incognito.
And I definitely like that, didn't like that, I was curious, but you're using that. And I think I'm on Google, but that's kind of how you train.
And that research comes on based on.
Yeah.
On those and do your profile.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not as high as I like, I think last time we looked, we were 12 here, which is weird, because I did just change our name. And so that would bump us down for a while, and I haven't done any reviews on that, so I'm way behind. What happens if I do? So it's worth messing with, and,
There's no big name
uh,
bonuses in there either, so there's no problem with people that are tending to their.
yes, exactly.
So it goes to
So-
show you can't just stick it in there and not do it.
I get rid of incognito. And I go back to, I have a hard time always finding my actual page, that my control page, so I have to mark it. That wasn't good either. Review. I always have the hardest time getting to it. Alright. I have the hardest time finding the control panel.
So you're giving your Google page.
Yeah.
It's in the top right, and those dots next to the. Should be, it might be towards the bottom, because you don't use it, I drag it on the top, profile manager is. We have things like that.
What is it?
It's one of those stuff.
100 doc sheets.
Mine's at the bottom when I first found it. I didn't use it.
I don't know. I thought I'd saved it a couple times, because I have the hardest time finding the work.
I drag it on the top.
So I'll have to figure that out for next week. Wherever, totally respectful, any questions, anything, we want to put on like a parking page until, we get further in? Thoughts? Laura, you got some?
Well, like slow down, go through the course before we just run home and all stuff. It's like, I didn't possibly. Like building, like a legit website, I always use like, provided, okay, that one's, and I never really longer cause too. But there's a lot of things that those you can't do, as far as the account, plug and play with certain CRMs and stuff. I think I'm like, calling out and do an agent buyer
Yeah.
for a website.
Yeah.
And then the website operator, because they mentioned. I think you did too, like, pull some of your info from the website, or you want to pull up your website, and it's going to put your rest of the website. So,
I think if you're really trying to move into the lead gen role where you're more attractive to buyers and sellers finding you organically,
yeah,
I think you do have to move to a website. And yes, well, Realty One provides a basic one. Again, this is a business. And so if you wouldn't just run a plumbing company or electrical company off of what Yelp or Google provides you, then you probably don't want to try to run a 6-figure real estate business off of whatever is provided. Is it a great start? Sure, it's better than nothing. But as you get solid into your branding and an idea of who's your client avatar, what do you want your branding to look like, what's your messaging, who are you trying to attract? The next step is to move to a website. And then, oh, by the way, we can embed that URL into your zone profile so that when they go to your profile, they find you on the Realty One site and they click on my website, it takes them to your new website, not the one Realty One Group is. Because Realty One Group, when they go into that, all it is really an amplified profile, right? The only advantage you get through that is that it does feed all of the MLSs that we belong to. But again, if you're not setting up searches in those MLSs, it doesn't really matter. If you're not using phone, you're not using phone, which is a big deal. Just, you can do all that on your website, and, you know, like if you're already Colorado XP, then whenever they're searching on your website, we should know they're there. Right, well, if they're on what you want, you don't even know they're there. So those are the things I think as you develop a brand, it may not be the first thing you start with, but it's probably as you try to get out of, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing mode to how am I gonna be purposeful? Where am I really trying to go? And I, you know, we're in the same boat. We are building a website with Agent Fire for Owen and I as a team. Because again, all of our stuff is lost in brokerage. And I theoretically have 2 books of businesses to sell someday. I have a brokerage and I have a book of business. And they need to be distinct and they need to be valued on their own. And so that's, you've got to understand, you're building a business. It's not just going to pay your bills today, but at some point you're either gonna bring on teammates and get it and work a revenue stream that way, or you're gonna sell your business or something, right? You're not trying to build this entity so that you can just walk away and throw out all the trash. That's a lot of work. But if, again, your CRM and those kinds of things, document how you build that business so that it has value. Because if you've got a database at some point of, you know, 400 or 500 customers, not farms, and those are past clients you've maintained relationships with, when you can sell that to somebody of like mine, it doesn't do you any good if, you know, wouldn't do any good for me to go sell mine with the business Benji. Benji's a great agent, but Benji's not tied to my military sphere, and so they'd be like, oh, okay, that's great, but I know so-and-so's wife over here, they're military retired, I'll just go over there. So that's the problem too, you gotta make sure it's a good fit. All right, well, I appreciate all of you attending, and Gloria, I'll see you in a couple hours.
All right, bye. See you later.
Thanks.